Hey Revolutionaries, I'm excited to bring you this week's episode with Josh Sprague, where we're talking Orange Mud and Claude Cowork. That's right, Orange Mud and Claude Cowork, yes, they do go together. You'll just have to listen to the episode to get the intimate details about that, but Orange Mud is a company that Josh founded a few years ago in the early days of e-commerce, so it's interesting to hear his history and perspective on what e-commerce was like then, what it's like now, and how Claude Cowork is making B2C, business to consumer type businesses much easier. I'm super psyched that I discovered Josh, stumbled upon him, and this is the first time really I've gotten a lot of more insight into how AI kind of in general is really unlocking a lot more value for people. So I think the easy takeaway, the most obvious thing has been in regards to AI, how, hey, it can create new things, images and pictures. You know, it's kind of creative as a creative source. Obviously, you can edit text and generate text, you know, the generative AI part with emails and, you know, even writing books and that kind of stuff. But again, it's kind of a creative thing. This thing that Josh talks about, the way he's using Claude Cowork is really as an analytical tool, and it's really powerful. So make sure you take a listen to this episode if you're interested in all things AI out there. But before we get there real quick, I just wanted to let you know what's been going on. I've been kind of absorbed in this music project, which finally happened at the kind of later weeks in June there, June 18th. I finally had this special night at the Spotlight here locally in Northeast Ohio, where I presented some original music for the first time ever, really, how I did it. So I had 9 original tunes I put together, and it was a really great band that was put together, and it was a feature of this guy, Tony Castle, who's a drummer. He does a monthly workshop out there, calls it Tony's Jazz Odyssey and Workshop, and he allowed me to be the feature person that night. It was really cool. So I'm going to try to get some video and audio of it. Maybe I'll share that with everybody, but that was what was taking up a lot of my bandwidth, so now I'm getting back to the podcast scene. But again, it's another... Oh, wait a second. What's going on here? Hold on. Sorry about that. I don't know if you heard that music or not, but something kicked on while I was recording. Anyways, that had my attention, and... but it's just another way I'm trying to, you know, change up things I'm doing and grow and reinvent that part of my life. So the reinvention continues, and it's continuing with more podcast episodes. So here you go. Let's get to Josh's right now.
Welcome to Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast, the show that explores reinvention in the digital age as it relates to career, creativity, and technology. Stay tuned for interviews with professionals, entrepreneurs, and creatives that have reimagined success and are making a pivot. If you'd like to listen to the entire back catalog, visit jimreinventionrevolution.com for instant access. And now, here's your host, Jim.
Hey everybody, hey, it's Jim, and welcome to episode 134 of Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast. I'm talking to you today with Josh Sprague, and we're talking about Mud and Claude Code. Yes, those two things do go together. And if you want to find out why, just stay tuned. So Josh, welcome to the Reinvention Revolution.
Thanks for having me on.
Oh, well, I appreciate you jumping on here. And let's dig right into... Let's get into the mud right away,
Sure.
I would say.
Yeah.
So let's get our hands dirty and tell me what's going on. What is mud, and in particular, Orange Mud? What is it? What am I talking about?
Yeah, so I started Orange Mud 14 years ago to make a better backpack, essentially. And I always hated waist belts and handhelds, and a lot of backpacks were too big and too hot and too clunky, and they flopped around and whatnot. So I designed a bottle-based hydration pack to begin with, which was essentially a 24-ounce water bottle that mounts behind your neck, so you just reach back to grab it. And I wanted it for marathon and triathlon at the time, but I've always been a big trail runner and anything dirt type of guy, and so it quickly evolved into more trail running, and then from there we started making bladder packs and flask-based packs that moved into mountain biking, gravel biking, and which is my true passion in life is riding a bicycle. So yeah, 14 years later, we've got an extensive product line and hydration packs, and mostly B2C, but still B2B as well. And the keeping up and we've always built it based upon it more of an e-commerce business, and keeping up in that landscape is a bit of mayhem. So it's definitely a muddy understanding constantly of how do we evolve our business and scalability of the business in all these different digital platforms to work efficiently and cost effectively when you're selling direct to consumers. I think a lot of consumers are like, when you're direct to consumer, you're making the full margin. You're not selling to retail, so you're just rich with money and everything. I'm like, well, I wish that was the case, but there's an incredible amount of effort that goes into, and I've been doing this 14 years, and it's still the majority of my work on an annual basis is managing digital ad spend. And so that's one of the biggest challenges we ever have, because most of the money in a direct-to-consumer transaction goes to shipping and people like Mark Zuckerberg or Bezos and whoever owns Google. So between Google, Facebook, and Amazon ads, that's one of the hardest parts. And it's where it's where we talked about in our previous call about why AI Claude Code for me is Cowork for me is incredible. It's one of the greatest things I've ever found since I've been in business to help me run even more efficiently. It's still not perfect, but it's better than all the friggin' tools that I've hired over the years on the agency side that have generally only taken my money and gave me worse results than what I could do. So
right. Well, let me dive in here for a second here. So I want to dig deeper into Claude Code and how you're dealing with this kind of disruptional type of change that's happening here in the e-commerce world, or in general, let's say on the internet. But I wanted to talk about the products just a little bit more, because one of the things that jumped out at me when I first got introduced to you and I was looking at your website was, well, two things. So you had this idea of this, what do you call it, a quiver style
Hydro
backpack?
Quiver, yep.
Yeah, hydro quiver. Okay. Where you have the water bottle in the back, and we were saying, like, years ago that people just always had water bottles in the front. It didn't make sense to you, and I don't think I've ever seen that a water bottle on your back.
Yeah.
So I've seen there's other companies out there. I think Camelback's probably the most famous one that years ago was around.
Sure.
But if you're not, when you take a break, you jump off your bike or whatever, like, it's not the most cool thing to drag around if you don't have a bottle to keep drinking and chilling out with your backpack or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
A
you
little
put a
different.
backpack on the table and you got 7 pounds of weight just flopping around and hose and touching things that you don't want.
Right. So it's kind of nice to have like that option of just, hey, it's just a water bottle. I don't have to do anything tricky. I can refill it easily.
Yep.
So I thought that was cool about it. But the other thing that really jumped out at me was I maybe dive a little bit deeper into the website was this, I got to find the right name of it here. It's the transition wrap. Okay. So, like I said, I got into cold plunging a few years ago, and we do it outside during the winter here in Northeast Ohio every Sunday, which is kind of a crazy thing to do. And we go down this sort of ravine into the near the Chagrin River. In the Chagrin River, that's where we plunge. And so you come out, and you're on the banks of the river, and you have to sort of towel off and get dry somehow. Some people change. Some people leave their suits on. I mean, this is like, imagine you're in the middle of winter and you have to break through the ice to get into the river, and now you're feeling great, but you're like cold as hell now, and even though you dry off, your suit is probably still on. Especially women keep their suits on. They they don't try to change fully outside, and you put your wet clothes on, and then you go back to your car, and then it's like, okay, now my car is going to start showing wear after months of being wet and cold on the way home. So anyways, I just thought, like, oh, okay, I'm not a big extreme sports person, I guess, other than the cold plunge. So I never kind of came across the reason to, like, have really a wrap and something that could keep your seats waterproof, et cetera. It's like a good application for kind of the sports world out there, or the adventure world.
Sure.
Adventure world, let's say, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, people listening out there that are in the cold plunges that we've talked about before, you got to check out the Orange Mud and get the transition wrap. Okay, enough of that.
It really put us on the map. That product, when I designed it, we actually won Runner's World Gear of the Year that year that I launched the first version of it, and and we ended up getting 160 stores the very first month that
wow.
magazine went out. And I'll never forget it because it was right before Thanksgiving and when the issue came out, and we're sitting there having breakfast with my in-laws, and all of a sudden my phone was like ding, ding, ding. All these Shopify orders kept coming in.
Oh,
like,
right,
wow.
right.
And at this time we were selling like 3 orders a day. So it was like, we just got more orders in 15 minutes than we had like in the month. And it was a giant game changer for us. And we've sold many, many, many hundreds of thousands of them ever since, probably over 1 million of them now. And it's been an awesome product, and it's good for anybody. I mean, if you sweat, you have cold plunge, which is crazy. Like we just got back we were in Durango. I've been on this 2-week vacation. We just got back yesterday, and we were in Durango a couple nights ago and went to the hot springs. If you've ever been to the Durango hot springs, are really cool. And they had a cold plunge pool at 44 degrees, and I guess they had another colder one somewhere. And my daughter was like, "Let's get in there." I'm like, "No, I'm not doing that."
Not ready yet.
Not.
Okay.
Like I think it's neat, but I do struggle. The whole cold plunge thing is fascinating to me. But you guys are nuts to go down, break ice, and get in on purpose.
Well, it is interesting. It's a challenge. That's why I like it, because it's sort of a mindset challenge. It's a challenge to your body, whatever. But I've seen over the years. You see marathons out there, and you see sort of like at the end of the race, they have those like aluminum sort of wraps, maybe to keep your thermal at temperature in and stuff like that. But I've never seen like this more fully thought through sort of wrap of, it could be waterproof, it could cover you up, it could do, it's just there for a lot of things anyway. So anyways, I like it. Okay, let's move on.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks for sharing that backstory, because I knew it was a good product for you guys. So I just wanted to focus on it a little bit. Okay, so let's dig into this. I want to hear your experience about how the e-commerce world is changing and how you discovered Claude Code, or the applications that Claude is helping you with, because 14 years ago it's probably a completely different world, look and feel, and maybe you're I know you came from was it like machining engineering background, right?
Exactly.
And so you're not really necessarily savvy about marketing and running a business, right? You're like, hey, I got product, I got this idea, so you're developing it. At that time, how did things work? What did you do to promote it? Were you always using paid ads, or did you use, blogging or other things out there?
Sure. Yeah. So when we started, I'm a marketing major, and even in the manufacturing space, I was always either in the sales process or, I went up to running the business. But so I had a background in sales and marketing that was, really strong. But to come into an e-commerce space is an entirely different animal. And then even from the manufacturing side, I can put pieces, I can put something on the moon, or Mars for that matter. But when it comes to manufacturing, but when it comes to soft goods and designing a backpack, they're just 1,000% different. And that was really shocking to me. Manufacturing is still there's still basic principles, of course, but it's really different to go from plastics and metals to soft materials. But yeah, so once we started out the initial prototypes, and we had something that was a very robust prototype, and we knew we were going to go to market with it, I didn't know what the plan was. I thought, it was made in USA at the time, and I thought that was really cool, and turns out no one really cares. But at the time, I thought that was a great premise, and the uniqueness of the design by putting a bottle on your back was just a more logical position than what many of the packs currently had on the market, which were a lot of people were putting bottles on the front, which is illogical. It's just not, like, you would never go backpacking and put your backpack on your chest unless you're trying to protect your assets walking through a busy street and wherever, some city.
That's right.
And so it's something that everything was just logical, but a lot of things in life that are logical don't always work, without a lot of education. And so yeah, I quickly became a Facebook expert, and I spent the first year in business, I bet I spent 9 months of it just only focusing on Facebook, and that's it, nothing else.
Okay.
Every day, that was my life, is Facebook. And again, it's still something I think about every day. I get numbers reported every morning via a couple different apps and software that I use that report on it, and Facebook is a monster. In the beginning, it was really organic posting was the first strategy because that was free, and it actually worked great back then. It's nothing anymore. Right. You're basically wasting your life on that. You have to have it, but it's completely irrelevant. So
Right.
the Facebook posting at the time, though, was great. Instagram and even leveraging Twitter with some engagement. It was amazing how well that worked if you engaged with your audience. Because everybody was coming in, everybody was new, and it was different. But then we hit a point pretty quick. In that first year, I think we hit, I believe it was 4,000 or 5,000 followers. And once we hit that, the organic side, it just went from like 60 to 80 engagements a day, up. And then all of a sudden we hit 4,000 or 5,000 people, and it's like 3. And you could tell Facebook's like, you did a good job when you were doing the organic.
That was your
but now
reward.
we have murdered you, and you're out. Like, we don't even care about you. Peace out, buddy. Good luck.
Right.
Pay
Well,
money.
they figure they have you hooked, and now you need to pay.
They do. It's like a drug dealer. Yeah. So Facebook, they lured you in, and then they cut you off, and then they sold you crack from there on. So then from there, and every year since, I've had to learn Facebook advertising and PPC. So we invested extremely heavily in that. I've spent millions and millions of dollars in Facebook advertising, and I've told people over the years this many times that I've been an expert 3 times at Facebook. And there's periods where I'm solid. I understand it. I understand how the back end works. I understand largely how the algorithm works, or at least, it's like trying to hold a freaking fire, a burning fire of burning bush, I guess, where you kind of have a hold of it, but barely. And then all of a sudden, then they change. And then you're ignorant, 100%. You're stupid. You don't know anything, and you're starting over from scratch. And it's painful. And Facebook, I would say it's probably been 2 or 3 years since they've had a major shift in their algorithm. It's where right now I'm back to expert for now, but it will change. It's only coming. I know it's coming. Surely, I keep looking at it. I'm like, you want us to give you money. Don't make it so hard. Most of us don't want to pay agencies, and so because agencies, you would think they all know what they're doing. Most of them don't know, for that matter. So this is where, for me, it's a constant point of frustration. Of things are working today, and what works today or this week, it may be performing awesome. I spend $1, I make $3. I spend $1, I make $5. And then next week I spend $1 and I lose $3. I mean, it's like, how did that work? It got even worse. So it's really amazing how much Facebook changes. And then the measurement is what is tough. And that's a piece that most people don't ever talk about. Everybody talks about how do we get a positive return on ad spend from Facebook or Google or Amazon, PPC, but it's the measurement. Do you have everything set up right in the back end? Or do you have things that are causing bleed that you're unaware of? And which messes with your metrics. And this is where, to me, Claude Co-work has been one of the coolest tools. It is the number one tool. It's the best tool I've ever used, without a question, in the history of me doing business. And the reason why, like yesterday, for example, we're driving down the road and I'm doing emails and whatnot, but meanwhile I've got Claude Co-work doing work for me, and I was just running some analytics on some things where I'm like, what is going on with my Facebook ad spend? Things that we're doing great. And then all of a sudden, Facebook and Google both were really doing terrible over this past week. Now, granted, I've been on vacation for 2 weeks, so I didn't pay much attention. But what ended up happening, I've got some rogue bot that has been infiltrating our web traffic. And to the tune of like 30,000 extra web visits in the past couple weeks. Well, what's happened? Facebook and Google have been optimizing the audiences based upon this rogue bot traffic, non-human traffic coming to our website. And Claude Co-work found that. I don't know that I would have found that. And I'm pretty knowledgeable. I don't know that I would have thought to look for that. I know I get bot traffic, but I don't.
You would never imagine that it had such an impact, right?
Yeah, I just don't think I would have been like, of my top 10 troubleshooting steps, that wouldn't have been one of them. That would have taken me a while to figure out. Let's put it that way.
Right.
And,
Interesting. Okay.
And Claude figured that out yesterday and was like, yeah, did you know you're getting, I can't quite read it from here, but I think it's 39,000 views or something, or web visits that I got from bot traffic. And I was like, well, how do we solve this problem, Claude? And Claude's like, well, you should implement Shopify's new feature they came out with in October that blocks all bot traffic. I'm like, and it's free? Go ahead. Perfect. And then so we did that. And then on top of that, I was like, well, how do we go a step further? And like, you need to get Negate. I'm like, okay, let's set up Negate. So I go into Shopify App Store, I set up Negate, and it's $49 a month with the Pro plan. When I ran the math on it, Claude actually ran the math on it, It said I should be able to reduce my PPC costs, exponentially as a result of this. And so that $49 spend I have should save me like $140 a day or something in PPC spend, because I'm not wasting money on bot traffic that is not relevant. I'm not optimizing web traffic based upon traffic that I don't want. Right. Now, it's where like everything is changing so fast too right now. And because again, now with AI scaling, there's so many benefits, but there's also the death blows coming from it, because we're getting these. I'm sure this bot traffic is somehow tied to AI. I haven't got a chance to dig into this, but
it makes the bot traffic more efficient, right?
So it does.
Figure out how to do it better, right?
Yeah. So it's just it's crazy, but I'll tell you, I'll give you some other examples where over the past couple months, I manage 3 businesses that aren't my own, and I have 3 of my own. And when it comes to all the PPC side, and what I've used Claude for is ensuring, and I have weekly checks set to make sure that all of my conversion tracking is set up properly. And that's really one of the most important things you can ever do in a business, is you have your conversion tracking set up. Because if you don't have your conversion tracking set up, then what you think you're getting a 20 times return on ad spend may only be 1 times return, or 2, whatever it may be. Right. If you don't have your conversion tracking set up, and these things, they break. You wouldn't think they would, right? It's Google. How ignorant can they be? And they could be really ignorant. Like, I can't stand Google's back end. It makes me insane. It is the worst back end. It's like dealing with like a hybrid of MS-DOS and a typewriter in the setup. So it's really frustrating. Facebook is largely better and always has been, but they have their own complexities. But to get Google in all of its ecosystems set up, which most people that run ads in Google, they probably don't even know that they have Google Business Manager, Google Merchant Center, and Google Tag Manager, and Google Analytics that they have to have all set up. Most of them are like, I have Google Ads and I have Google Analytics. But they don't know they have all these other things that they need to have set up in Search Console. Right. And this is where Claude is amazing, because I can say, hey, Claude, here are all my accounts for these different Google ecosystems. I need to make sure all of them are in synchronization, and I need to make sure that I'm being able to track my conversion data properly. And of course, more into it than that, but you can create a project just for that. And then you can have it run once a week, once a day, once every 2, whatever you schedule it. And then I only want to the point. I want you to do things for me, give me actionable insight that I can make a decision on. And then it'll give me an actionable 3-point insight. I say, yes, do this to number 1, don't do it to number 2 for whatever reason, and do this to number 3, and then follow up. Let's set a reminder to check performance in a week. This is where you can do this. Like, a layman can do this, for the most part, pretty dang easily. And you can even tell it, like, you could say, I don't know anything about Google Ads, so help me to make sure that I have my account set up for optimum.
Yeah, just to set it up.
That's a bit of it's a bit of a, you really should probably dig deeper. But that being said, I find that there's things that it's not perfect. There's things that it will suggest sometimes, and because I've done this so much, I'm like, well, I get what you're saying, but what about X, Y, and Z? And then it'll be like, oh yeah, that's a good point. I'm like, man, that's pretty important. You should have known that. But I will say that if you don't know anything, this knows more than you probably do.
Right. Yeah, it'll help you uncover things for you to think about that, I never would have considered that. Okay,
and that's just it. It's constant, just like that bot traffic. I can't say I've never looked at that in the history of my business. Do I look at the uncategorized traffic? Sure. But it's certainly something I didn't have a pulse on. Not like that. Like, hey, in the past couple of weeks, it's been a spike of this. I'm like, oh, wow. I thought I was just doing awesome. But I thought it was weird. I had so much web traffic, but I didn't see the conversions. Like, our web traffic had a spike of 265%, but our orders only went up like 26%. So I knew something was off. But again, I've been on vacation, so I barely looked at anything. So, but.
Well, this is like fantastic. Thanks for these insights, because I think a lot of people out there have heard of Claude Cowork or these applications of AI, and they're just not exactly sure about, well, how could it really help me? Yeah. Is it really worth my trouble to figure it out? Like, for example, how long have you been using it? When did you get in, and why did you decide, hey, I want to investigate this and see if it works for me? Was there someone else that you knew in your genre that said, oh, you have to try this, or how did you get into it?
No, I think, like, I've only used ChatGPT a couple times, and I kept hearing people talk about it, and for whatever reason, I've only used it a couple times. I just didn't like it as much out of the gate, and so I started with Grok, and I love Grok. I mean, she's awesome. Or I call it a she. I don't know, whatever you want, but yeah, but I love it for like conversational things. You know, if I'm driving down the road and I want to know. Yesterday, we saw an incredible amount of these beautiful black and yellow butterflies in the mountains of the La Salles out west of Moab, east of Moab, when we were there 2 weeks ago. And yesterday I was driving down the road and I'm like, hey, Grok, how long does a black and yellow large butterfly live? And she's like, well, you know, the pupa lives this long and the caterpillar lives this long and the black and yellow butterfly lives 6 to 14 days. That's freaking fascinating. Like, who do you know that's a butterfly expert where you're like, hey, yo, Jim, do you know how long a black and yellow butterfly lives? You know the ones that are out there in the mountains of Moab?
Yeah.
I'm sure it's the same. You know.
Right. Let me Google that. Oh, okay. 10 minutes
Yeah, and
later.
you Google it and you go down some rabbit hole of 27 YouTube videos you have to watch and you still won't figure it out. But that's where it started with that sort of thing. You know, like even while reading books, I would say, okay, well, I'm reading this book. I don't understand this. And so I go to Grok. I'm like, hey, Grok, walk me through, X. And it helped to explain things. So it was more chat-based. And that's what I find a lot of people use AI for. And I've had so many buddies that have told me, like, dude, AI is just a fad. I'm like, that's not. Like, it's going to wipe us out. Not. Like, don't get me wrong. It's awesome. I know it's going to wipe us out, but I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to be on that ship, and I'm going to at least understand it.
Enjoy these final days, everybody.
yeah, that's why I'm nice to it, because I figure sooner or later it's going to start whacking people, and I'm like, they at least can't go back to my records and be like, Josh was a prick to me, the old Grok or whoever. But what I like about it is that yes, it's great for chat, and yes, it's like great for how do I adjust the valves of my TW200 motorcycle? I found it just those crazy things where it's like, yeah, it's a 27-minute job. You need a 10-millimeter wrench and your feeler gauges and set to 40. I mean, it's fascinating for things like that. But Co-work is where I would challenge people to stop using it as a chatbot and go and use like Claude Cowork. Grok now, I haven't used it, but Grok has a project which I believe is the same thing. But you've got to go to the Co-work side, not the chat side. And that's where you create essentially an agent or an employee where you say, okay, this in the Co-work, you create a project, and that is Google Ads management. And that's it. Don't confuse it with anything else. Just your job, here's all my account numbers. I want you to log into my computer and drive. That's what I tell it to do. Log in and drive in Google Chrome and analyze everything, solve whatever problem. And then it is only focused on that ecosystem. It's only focused on what you told it to work on. It doesn't go off looking at your Amazon stuff. It doesn't go looking at your Facebook stuff. And I've done that, but I've learned don't do that. Like keep it ecosystem focused. So I have like a Facebook project. I have a Google project. I have an Amazon project. Because like my Amazon guy, he drives me nuts. Like I have an Amazon sales guy that works for, or whatever, PPC manager that works for me. And I'm always like, hey man, what's the result of X, Y, and Z? And I don't know, Josh, or you don't understand. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. I'll just go to Grok, or I'll go to Claude, and she'll tell me. And so I'll go to Claude. I'm like, and I have Claude now where I could never get the reports out of my agent because he drove me nuts. So I just tell Claude every week on Tuesday, 6 a.m., run a report, have it ready for me when I wake up. And then I look at my Amazon data, and then I tell my agent, I'm like, hey man, I need you to fix X, Y, and Z. And then what's cool, even though AI may not always be perfect, then he always wants to push back. But I have data, he has his data, and if he's right, perfect. I at least drove him, and I steered him with data. And he may not like it, because it's probably pushing him something. I'm usually saying like, hey, this isn't working, you need to adjust this. And he'd be like, no, your AI is wrong. I'm like, okay, well, show me then. And so it really helps in things that I don't care to invest my time to go solve problems when I can use a tool to give me at least a starting point. And I think that's the cool part. It's often is not a starting point, it's complete. But sometimes it's a starting point. And that's where the projects are great. And that history is live there. So your Co-work project or Grok project, that's what it's going to do. It's going to be always focusing on those given data points. And then I have it for my Orange Mud business and Seven Clay and other businesses I manage. I have all of them in here where I can go in there right now and I can get an update on anything. or it automatically updates me based upon my given schedules. So yeah, that's the key though, is you gotta leverage what can run automated, because otherwise, if it's telling you what to do, there's certain things, especially like with Google, it can be brutal to go through and set up all the mechanisms that have to be set up in the back end.
Right.
That's why I like to tell it what to do. And you have two choices. At least with Claude Cowork, you can either have it ask upon every action, meaning I'm going to log into your Google Ads account ending in 1268.
Right.
Is this okay? Yes. And then, okay, I'm going to open campaigns. Is this okay? Yes. Or you can do what I do. I set it to auto, and it goes in there and it'll run sometimes 4, 5, 6 hours. And I just see my computer. It's like a ghost is controlling my computer. And I just watch it. So like now I have my laptop over here so I can watch it. It's like right now it's over here driving on 3 different things. And it's running 3 different things independently. So I don't have to have an employee that manages my Orange Mud Google ads or my Facebook ads or my Instagram or whatever. I can have it over here running all those and my other businesses at the same time. All in the same. It's just, it's a technology. It's insane. And like for me, I pay $100 a month. Sometimes I max it out and I have to pay extra, which I don't even care, because it's like for $100 a month, I got rid of agencies. And
right.
I mean, I as much as I say I hate agencies, it's what I do in that third business, but I don't do it for many because I got enough going on, but it's something I do occasionally for other people. But it's allowing me to be an absolute machine where I otherwise wouldn't have the bandwidth to do what I do.
Right. Well, let me ask you one question about how you see the security aspect of it, because it's like you're allowing it to have access to all these accounts. It must know your passwords. I don't know how exactly you set that up. What kind of control do you have over it? Is it, are you worried about it going awry or sharing passwords or someone else being able to break into your systems? What do you think about that?
Yeah, but I mean, man,
or you just that's just a calculated risk and you'll deal with what happens.
Yeah, and so it is leveraging my password manager. It doesn't have access to my password manager. It doesn't have access to my passwords. I don't give it any emails or I don't give it any passwords. All it's doing, it's logging in on my computer, leveraging Google Password Manager or Safari's Apple's keyword, Cloud Chain, whatever it is. But it's only, I'm telling it, go to this site, which is automatically logged in anyway. So I have to manually approve these logins to any of the sites. It'll go there, it'll open it up, and as is Google's probably, well, Google and Facebook both, because I do have it creating campaigns and optimizing campaigns, but a lot of times Facebook, it knows it's AI traffic, and so it flags it as, we have created these campaigns, but you can't run it until you click approve. It is a manual approve mode with certain things like that. Google, like if I'm adjusting campaign budgets, like yesterday I was adjusting campaign budgets, or Claude was, and then Claude would tell me, hey, you have to go manually approve this. It would pop up a window that it couldn't see, and you'd have to click approve. So most anything like that, anything that is currently, you can see at least Amazon, Google, and Facebook, it's only allowed to click, things. That's essentially what it's doing. It's just controlling your mouse. But I mean, I haven't seen anything so far that concerns me in terms of the security risk there. Any worse? I mean, I trust it more than I do some remote worker that may or may not screw me. I mean, one of my biggest reasons why I had to get Claude in this case. And no remote workers, I have a bunch. But that being said, I had a IT team that I was paying. Just to give you an example, I had an IT team that I was paying that I fired with passion here a couple months ago. And what ended up happening with them is that back on March 18th, I was on vacation with my son on spring break, and I wake up to an email from my tech team and WhatsApp message and text message saying, hey, we need you to change all your passwords and freeze your credit cards immediately on your Google Ads accounts. And I'm like, why? And they're like, well, somebody hacked in through my IT manager's email address, which managed my Google Ads account for my Orange Mud business. blew
Okay.
$24,000, billed my main card, and then I froze it, and then I didn't realize because they removed me from my own Google Ads account that I couldn't even log in to see what my backup card was. So I had a backup Amex on there, which they billed for $10,000, and then I still can't run ads on that account since March 18th, and that was through a human. And then that same bot went and hacked in through my IT manager's email again, or whoever this person was, and then they hacked into my blog on my 7Clay business, and they posted 1,100 blogs on casino gambling, and with a bunch of clicks on it. And that was another discovery that was real fun. And so I had to become a security expert on the WordPress side to be able to lock. And that was only a blog tie-in to my website, so there was no risk to my main site, which is different. But that being said, I had to become a WordPress expert, which I am not. And so to dig into that, Claude was one of my best friends, because my own IT team were a bunch of idiots, and I hate them, and it's just painful. So again, I see more risk from humans, because what happens with humans, we click on things. The very next month, one of my employees had her email hacked and got our domain shut down for a little while some hacker, and she probably clicked on a bad link, and maybe not, maybe, who knows, but her email address sent out, like, I don't know, thousands of emails to people saying, hey, this invoice is ready for view, and people were clicking it, and then of course people marked it as spam, and you have all this damage control. Humans are the biggest risk at this time.
I was gonna say the social engineering part is always the biggest security risk, I think,
is.
in my mind.
Yep.
The technology can be solid, the encryption and all that kind of stuff, but there's always some secretary, or even yourself, like you said, you're half awake one day and you click on the wrong thing before you know it. It's like, oh shoot,
And we've all done it. Yeah,
I've done it for sure.
Me too. Yeah, I mean, I've done it before, where I'm like, what do you mean? My Facebook
gets
account
hacked, and all, like, oh my god.
Yeah. Well, and usually that's where it starts. So it's like your Facebook account has been suspended. I did this once, like probably 10 years ago. I'm like, what do you mean my account's been suspended? And I clicked on it, and I'm like, oh, this is strange. And then I realized, oh man, I took the bait, and then I had to go change everything. And so yeah, I have battled so much fraud. It's the piece that I always tell people that as a business owner, it's one of the worst things. I mean, every year, every quarter, I'm battling fraud for something. Somebody's trying to steal money out of checking accounts, or credit cards, or wire fraud, or digital fraud. There's always something. And so far, AI is, for sure, it's frightening. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's absolutely frightening. I mean, I've battled so much fraud that it's always the bad guy that's done it. Now we have AI is a tool that the bad guys are going to use, and they're going to hammer us. That's actually, I'm more worried of the bad guys using AI to hammer modern man way more than AI taking over. Long term, AI and robots are probably going to wipe us all out. But that being said, that's like down the road. Let's address short term demand.
So positive. Okay.
Yeah. Short term. Yeah. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I'll be the first one to buy the robot, but I'll probably be one of the first people to die from the robot that is running on AI. It's cleaning my house. I'm like, hey, I didn't like the chicken Alfredo you made. And I'm like, all right, fine, you're dead. But it's but I do think that the bad guys leveraging AI is frightening. But again, it's what can we do now that is smarter? And I'm not going to hide from it, because it's an amazing tool. Why not use it to the absolute benefit?
No, you need to be educated. You need the experience. And thanks for sharing this, because this is very insightful, I think, for people to understand, like, why would I use it? What to watch out for? The relative risks, like you're saying, like, hey, is it, that your gut feeling says, wait a second, I don't want this thing to run awry. Yep. But then when you put it into context with, like, well, look, you have employees, you have remote people, there's all these other things you have to deal with as a business owner, or just as an individual these days. Maybe AI is the least, risky potentik.
I really think it is.
Relatively speaking, So
for now.
So super cool, man. Okay, well, let's thank you for sharing that. I have a couple other things I want to ask you about, because you kind of became this entrepreneur, like, through your passion of, like, look, I'm not finding the right gear I want. And so you started this company, but along the way, it sounds like you started a couple other things because you were developing these skills. I want you to share just real quick. You have another, I guess, marketing consulting company, and you're like you have like a fractional CMO kind of business, or what?
Yeah.
Tell me what else you got going on.
Yeah. So like we were talking about earlier, I have this changing talent seat cover called the transition wrap, and we've customized it hundreds of thousands of times, and so we embroider logos on it most of the time, or screen print them.
Okay.
And so when we moved our business to Texas 7 years ago, this month actually, we just celebrated 7 years here, and when we moved our Orange Mud business here, I thought, how hard can it be to find an embroidery shop? I mean, I'm outsourcing $250,000 a year of embroidery. I'm like a dream client to people. We're busy year round.
Oh yeah, one source for $250K.
Yeah, I mean, if you called me and you're like, hey, do you know anybody that'll clean toilets for $250,000 a year, like portable toilets? I'm like, no, but I'll start a business to do that. Here I couldn't even get people to do it for me, or they were rude, or their prices are crazy. Their quality has always been questionable. And my whole Orange Mud business is quality, no exception. I hate low budget manufacturing. I hate it with passion. And so when I moved our business here, it just continued the frustration with finding a good embroidery shop. So after I messed around with a few shops here, out of frustration, I went home one night and told my wife, I said, hey, I just spent $58,000 on an embroidery machine, and my whole purpose is to hurt people. I want to put people out of business that suck in our area. And I know we've put at least 3 out of business. All right, I know 3 have gone out of business, let's put it that way. But I know that I've taken a lot of business from people in the area because we're really good. And I was a better embroidery shop within 24 hours of owning my machine than anyone that had ever made embroidered things for us in the past. And that made me realize I am not a genius. I simply tried, and that was it. Like we digitized the logo we've made for Fleet Feet. We're in over 180 Fleet Feet stores with our transition wraps. We embroider the logo. It's really simple. Fleet Feet Sports. It's text. It's really easy. The easiest logo you can get. And we had plenty over the years where I'm like, God, you can't do any better than that. They're like, no, Josh, you don't understand. I was like, what don't I understand? And they're like, this is the industry standard. And I was like, okay. Well, the very first stitch out we did was basically what most people did. And then I told my digitizer, I said, hey, I just like it to be more dense. And they're like, well, that logo is going to take a lot longer to run. I was like, well, right now it runs in 1 minute and 30 seconds, and it takes me 5 minutes to load the machine. So, I mean, if it went up to 5 minutes, that would be okay. And he's like, oh, no, it'll only probably be 3 minutes and 20 seconds or something.
Okay.
I said, well, that's fine. So, and I spent like an extra...
Right, the time.
Yeah, I spent like an extra 6 cents in thread, probably. I don't know, it's inconsequential. And all of a sudden, I'm like, that's what I've been looking for, at that point, 7 years. I've been wanting that. And that's when I realized that's all it took. And it made me so mad that all these other shops that I outsourced to had always acted like I was an idiot for asking for something better. And like I was asking for something exceptional, right? And here, the second time we ever ran a job, we were better than anyone. And when I realized that, I'm like, this world is full of so much low quality, terrible companies. It just makes you so frustrated, right? And so then from there, we grew our embroidery business. Next thing you know, we bought 2 more machines, bigger and even more expensive machines. And then we were finding people that wanted us to make patches. And here I'm, hiring like temps off the street to cut these circles for this first job. We got 3,000 piece patch job. And at one point I had 7 people there at the shop, and I freaked out on one lady. I was like, my 5-year-old kid can cut a circle better than you can. I'm like, how is this even possible? All you got to do is trace the line. That's it. I lost it. I was so mad, and I was like, I got to solve this. So I went and bought a laser machine. and next thing you know, we got lasers. Now we have 3 lasers. And then we bought screen printing equipment and heat presses and all this. And now that business is bigger than Orange Mud. We've had it for 7 years, and or almost 7 years.
Oh, that's bigger than Orange Mud. Oh, that's
it's bigger than Orange Mud. Yeah, 7 Clay is a monster. And so that's my custom apparel business. So we do custom merch for brands, right? We work with retailers, we work with contractors, we work with small business, we work with giant businesses, and it's something people are like, oh, your guys' quality is the best, and it's so cool because it's not like we're all experts and all. I mean, now we're pretty talented because we have
Well, you're learning
equipment
quickly
for years, but at the same time, in the beginning, people are like, man, you guys are amazing, and meanwhile, I'm thinking, it's tragedy that we're amazing because we don't even know what we're doing, and we're doing a better job than most people. And yet, like with my laser, right when I got it in, I'd had it for 24 hours, And at the time I was outsourcing leather patches, and it's for a guy that I kind of hit it off with. He's a real cool guy and very hunter and fisher like I am, real neat guy. And I told him, I called him, I said, hey, Alan, I hate to tell you this, but we got your leather patches in. They look terrible. And I kept arguing with the leather factory. This is a giant leather patch company. That's all they do.
Yeah.
And I'm arguing with them over the programming of the sample that they sent. And they're like, Josh, you don't understand. You can't do what you want to do. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, you're putting power of light and surely you can adjust the power. And they're like, no, you can't do that. And so here, within owning a laser machine, 24 hours, I called my client. I'm like, hey, man, I got in your leather patch, but it looks like crap. I'm like, I just got a laser machine in. Admittedly, I don't know what I'm doing. But can you give me like a week and let me see if I can make it better? And he's like, yeah, sure. So it was the very next day I had it figured out. And I did exactly what the customer wanted, and which was a logical thing that he asked for. And I told the company, I'm like, just so you know, you lost my business. You forced me to have to learn a new skill. And now I'm never going to give business your way. And I'm always going to tell people that, Stalls, you're this huge company and you suck at leather patches. It's like, it's just amazing. And here I'm better than you within 48 hours. And so, it's constantly unbelievable, the barrier of being good. So that's where 7 Clay is taken off. And now we've got, a lot of really talented people that work for us that are all extremely knowledgeable in their craft. And we've expanded to, like, we have leather patch sewing machines. We've got regular sewing machines for everything. I've got a ton of machines at the shop, which is fun. It's a whole neat, like, how it's made type of company when you go there. And we always invite people in to see it. But so we have that, and then a little over a year ago, I started another business called Anvil and Acre, and that is a fractional CMO marketing company. And so to me, there it's just the whole pipeline. I look at how do you get your leads and how do you convert them, and then everything in between. Do you have your website? Okay. Do you have the measurements set up? Don't have those set up until you actually run ads. All those things have to be perfect first. Do you have a CRM? Do you have a website? And then is the tracking set up? And then that's when you spend. And so it's a smaller business for me. It's something I started that I've helped people with over the years, but I formalized last year, and I was like, all right. I started with some clients, and then it kind of expanded. But it's something that, running 2 businesses is crazy enough. And the third one, it's more of like, it's fun to spend other people's money and help scale their businesses. Right. And then I'm like, I don't have to deal with inventory. All I got to do is just manage you and your team, and that's great. And so it's a fun business. But I enjoy building things. I think one of the things that a lot of business owners probably run into is that you enjoy the building blocks of making something go, but then once it's live, the maintenance is what I personally don't enjoy as much. I like the data, I like it to convert, but I don't want to be the bookkeeper, the CPA. I of course have people to do that, but as a CEO, you still get very sucked into those elements. I mean, I need to probably spend 2 hours on today. So
you need to pay attention to it. But there's like sort of like CEOs and there's COOs, and like they're different personalities. And it's like you need to find a key COO in combination with the visionary, the entrepreneur. It's like that combination, 1-2 punches, is lethal when you can get the right people together.
Oh, it's huge. Huge.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that, because it's like it's interesting to hear your evolution and to hear that it's fun to be able to share your skills. Just creating this other little fractional CMO thing, because it's like, hey, I know how to do this. I know I can help people. That's super cool. Well, Josh, there's a couple questions I always like to ask people as we get towards the end of the podcast here, and one of them, since we are the reinvention revolution, is I ask people if they can share a reinvention revelation with everybody out there, something that you've learned along the way about business or about yourself that other people out there that are listening that are interested in changing and evolving that might help them, in their journey, maybe move down the road a little quicker.
Sure. Yeah, I would say the number one that I implemented about 2 years ago is it's kind of like what we were just talking about, but we implemented EOS in our business, and because I realized I was way too important, and I was the problem solver that everybody counted on to solve a lot. And as much as I think as you're earlier in your career, you want to be that I always wanted to be the one that people leaned on. I always wanted to be like, if there's
Makes
a
you
problem,
feel
call
good.
Josh because he'll solve it. And everybody wants to be important, right? And then the older I get, I want to be less important. Like I've been on vacation for 2 weeks. I wished I could have crawled under a rock and just hid. It would have been awesome. I wanted to goof off, man. I was mountain biking, kayaking, hiking, and traveled 3,800 miles in 2 weeks. Like I didn't want to do any work. I wanted a break. But I'm still not perfect in this, and it still sucks me in. But when I rolled out EOS, I think this was 3 years ago in July when we did it, and it was my birthday lunch. Every time one of our employees at work has a birthday, we have a lunch, and there's always a theme. My theme's usually spicy or something weird, but that year I go in there and everybody at work had a Josh is here, he's our MacGyver. Josh is here, he's the problem solver. Josh is here, he's the hammer, he's the multi-tool. Everybody made unique shirts, which I thought was very special, and I was very thankful that everybody did that. But it actually kind of broke my heart because I realized I'm like, man, I'm the one that is causing the problems in this business. I am way too important, and this is not good. This is bad because it's not like I had a bunch of idiots. I got a lot of really smart people that work for me that are great. And so I've trained them that I will be the guy to give all the answers. And that made me realize I have completely failed. And this is the reason why my businesses are not scaling at the rate that I want. And I feel frustrated, but it's my own fault. So I, at the time, was reading Who Not How and the book about EOS traction, or not traction, just EOS. And I realized like I need to do this. I need to look at who I am, the visionary that wants to grow things, and then I put the operators in the right places, in the right seat, in the right role needs to match the individual processes that we have. And so we did that. It took a few months to roll that out, but I hired an implementer to help me because, again, I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. So I hired an implementer, and this gal, Gail, who was awesome. And she came in and we mapped out this org chart, which, a lot of people hear org chart and you're like, oh yeah, great. An org chart and a work instruction. And I used to do that back in my other businesses that
makes people's eyes glaze over sometimes.
It does. But you know what? As for me, and I tell you what, my whole entire team loved it, which I was still surprised by. I figured we'd have more pushback from that. And not that it was all perfect, but everybody loved the org chart because we looked at what is everybody doing. And like for me, I'm the web developer, the IT guy, the finance guy, everything, right? And we're like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm breaking off all these pieces. And because like this gal, Gail, she was like, well, do you need to be the web developer? I'm like, no. Actually, my designer, she's a developer. She can do that piece. There's so many pieces you're like, you just do it because you were doing it or you have been doing it, so you stay doing it. But we broke out all these pieces. And then once we had that, then we defined job descriptions for everyone. Because we get, like my wife and I get frustrated, like, somebody scrapped whatever at the shop again. Well, we don't have a work instruction for that. So how can we be upset that somebody didn't do it right when they did their way versus their person's way?
Right.
So implementing EOS and putting in a job description or a work process description for every process, every core process, and then ensuring each one of those processes had a supervisor that would oversee it to hold ultimate accountability made a huge difference. And it that's where I always kind of preface that, like, hey, I know people hear org charts and they glass over, but if you have an org chart and you have the people that are responsible with, there's one person that's ultimately responsible, and then the people under them, and then the processes are clear, your life will get easier. And it really did. And we had to, browbeat people a little bit, like, you need to write this down with what you're doing to make sure that we can document that the process is being followed.
Get rid of that tribal knowledge and get it out of your head and onto paper,
That's just it, because that's what we had. We had some, like, Charlie's on vacation today. We don't know what temperature to do that heat press on that leather. Like, that's right. Why? Why is that not wrote down? Why is it not in the log where it's been recorded 285 times? So to me, those type of things, they were a game changer to us and continue to be. And then they open up new problems, which is great because you at least you solve the core problems, and it doesn't solve everything, but then you open up the new problems. You're like, okay, well now we have this problem. Let's
But you
go
have a
solve it.
framework. Going forward, you have a framework to handle that. I think that's the takeaway from it. I think
For sure.
And if you focus on, to me, it's like if you focus on a little bit more about the functionality in regards to the org chart, not the hierarchy so much of the org chart. I think that alleviates people's kind of anxiety and stress. It's like, we're just trying to figure out how this company works and what areas are responsible for getting things done. It's not about collecting people under yours to manage or whatever, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
So, that's cool. Well, and just tell me what EOS stands for. So I have it in my mind what it is, but I don't know that specific term.
Yeah, it's Entrepreneurial Operating System.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Okay.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal book.
I know it in the corporate world is a little bit different, but perfect. That's great. I'm just thinking there's like 2 or 3 people I've been kind of working with, trying to guide a little bit, that need to hear this. They need this is what they need in their business, because they're like tapped out. They're like 20 years in. They're exhausted, and it's just like, look, you can't be showing up working in your business anymore. You're maybe the first few years that's how you get it going, but as time moves on, a successful business, it needs to be a machine. You need to develop this capability, all the processes. So, great information. Okay, my final question for you then is, thanks for sharing that, is what are you feeling urgent about these days? So you've had success. You're sort of open to new technologies and AI, incorporating it, figuring it out, the pros and cons. Is there anything you're feeling urgent about, or have some anxiety over, or you're just rocking? You feel like you're just getting started?
No, I mean, there's always, it just depends. You wake up and you're like, oh, what's the urgent problem today?
Maybe on the day, right?
No, it's, normally it's seriously, fraud makes me insane. And it's amazing how rampant it is in business today. But that's probably the thing that stresses me the most. But no, ultimately the urgency is really the it's more in my 7-clay business runs pretty smooth. But with the Orange Mud side, the B2C, the ad side is just a never-ending fight. It really is. B2C is an incredibly changing mix, and probably I don't have a solution for it really, but the China direct into our market is one of the scariest things that I think that many consumers still haven't completely wrapped their heads around. And what I mean by that is, you go on Amazon and you can buy my pack for $85 to $150 depending on what it is, which model it is. But you can go buy a China similar. Is it going to be the same quality? No, the same performance, and can you ensure that you have warranty and a human you can talk to and like BPA free stuff and everything? No, but you can go buy that thing for a fraction of the cost from Temu Direct, which is a logical pricing, or buy it even on Amazon, and I know they're selling at a loss. And my belief is that a lot of the China direct businesses that are selling on Amazon and Temu and whatnot, they're out there with the sole purpose of just crushing American enterprise. It's the only thing I can really think of. I can't wrap my head around it otherwise. Like, why would you sell something for $25 that I know cost you more than that? Like if my average conversion cost on Amazon is $12 to $20 to sell a backpack, and they're using the same PPC models to sell a $25 backpack, there's no way they're winning, because they have the cost of it, they have the duties, they have the shipping, they have the Amazon fees, and then you have the Amazon PPC side as well. There's things like that don't make sense. And so like every day I keep trying to think, how do I reinvent myself? Or do I just say, put my blinders on and say, you know what, I'm sticking to my path. Our focus is not low budget, it's quality and performance.
Focus on your market.
And that'll always be there. And focus on the marketing. And but that being said, I lose sleep at night over it. I mean, we all do, right? I guarantee if I sent you to Amazon right now, I said, man, I bought this ink pen the other day and it's $50. It was awesome. And you go on Amazon and Amazon's like, yeah, this pen is awesome. Or you can buy this one for $6. You'd probably be like, maybe I'm going to buy 2 or 3 of them, see if they're any good. And then maybe I'll go back to the $50 one later. That's unfortunately, that's where the American consumer's mind, as I believe the majority is that low cost versus quality. And it's always something that I try to balance in my designs as much as possible. But I will never make something to be low budget. It's just not. It's not what my purpose is. My purpose is
Right,
function and performance, without exception. And 7Play is no different.
There's so many other people that do that. There's so many other people that are addressing those lower quality markets or lower cost markets, however you want to describe them.
Yeah.
So there's plenty there, but yeah, I think for if you understand the value of what you're getting and you don't want to like waste your time and like order a cheaper one and then it's not quite right, kind of thing. Like I've done that a little bit with Amazon because it's convenient, but then you're like, what am I doing? You're wasting your own time. Your time's worth money. So,
or you buy 5 of them and over the course of a year where you could have bought one that would have lasted
it's just
5
like,
years. And
eventually the sort of cream rises to the top, I would think, but.
You would hope, but I don't know. Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing that. I was very insightful about the Claude Cowork and real world experience. So, like I like to do all the time on these podcasts, is really put some context around some of these things, not scare people, not do sensational stuff, but just real world experience and see how people are thinking about it and sharing their experience. So. Yeah. Really appreciate it. If people are interested in Orange Mud or your other companies, where would you send them? Where should they go? Yeah, Orange Mud. Orange like the fruit, mud like mud. MUD.com. 7 all spelled out. SEVENCLAY.com. And then Anvil like big old metal anvil. Anvil and acre like land.com. Okay. Check us out. Or just Google me and you'll probably find me. I'm pretty easy. All right. Very good. Well, those links will be in the show notes, of course, like they always are. And thanks again, man. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thank you for listening to Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast. If you want to hear more, join our mailing list at jimreinventionrevolution.com. See you next time. And remember, the revolution has just begun. So dig in, embrace the process of reinvention, and start realizing the success you've always dreamed of. Hey, revolutionaries, if you enjoyed today's episode and today's guest, let them know by commenting on their Facebook page, finding their Twitter handle or Instagram feed, and letting them know you heard them on Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast, and tell them what you got out of the episode, what you really liked, or how they inspired you. I know they would get a kick out of it and will help others find the same value that you found.